In our troubled world, there exists a prestigious and lucrative profession surrounded by myths in the public eye. This profession is called art history, and its practitioners are known as art historians or art critics. Ordinary people assume that museums and cultural ministries in various countries always lack funding, and art historians are seen as poor but honest professionals in their field. However, this is far from the truth. Budgets in the cultural sphere are enormous and easily susceptible to embezzlement. Moreover, works of visual art are perfect commodities for covertly moving vast sums of money legally exempt from taxation. As a result, the pursuit of profit within the circle of art historians prevails over the interests of culture and the preservation of our civilization's cultural heritage. Therefore, art historians, employees of cultural ministries, and auction house workers have formed an international criminal community, which I term the art cartel. I never intended to quarrel or wage war with the art cartel. However, our interests intersected and I was compelled to fight. In this and subsequent videos, I will delve into the inner workings of the art cartel, the artworks, and the structure of the so-called art market. You'll learn how art prices are determined, how expertise is established and operates, and I'll reveal much new information about well-known artworks housed in museums and those masterpieces not yet known to the public. You won't hear or see anything like this anywhere else because within the art cartel exists a conspiracy of silence and mutual assistance, structured much like that of the mafia. Most of my life I've lived in Europe, first in Prague, Czech Republic, then on the French Riviera, and now in Italy. However, I am qualified as an art historian and expert, having collaborated with Russian government agencies. I served as an expert on works of visual art, a senior researcher at the Scientific Research Center of the State Agency for Drug Control and Repression. This is the Russian equivalent of the American Drug Enforcement Administration. Due to my quite high professional qualifications, the Russian government made an exception for me to live abroad because I did not wish to relocate to Moscow permanently, although I often visited Russia. By the way, from the moment I learned about Russia's attack on Ukraine, I vehemently condemned this aggression, and as a result, I severed all ties with Moscow. I've decided to share my own experiences and what I know about the art cartel for 3 reasons. Firstly, my main adversaries have already departed from this life. Secondly, I and my loved ones have triumphed in our personal, painful, and lengthy quest that lasted for 20 years. At least I feel that today is the time to finally dot all the I's. And thirdly, everything I'll share is interesting and useful for everyone to know. So, let's practically start from the end. In June 2019, my French lawyer, Maître Michaela Schreier, handed me several bank checks totaling several million euros. These funds were paid to us by the insurance company AXA. Handing me these checks, the lawyer whispered to me, "And now it is time for you to leave France, at least for 3 years, until everything settles down." By that time, my family and I had already lived for 7 years in a guarded house, which formerly belonged to the sister of the former French Minister of Defense, Hervé Morin. In reality, this house, located near Cannes, was a guarded state facility. The house had a peculiar address and was situated in a district where former judges, police officers, and other individuals requiring special protection lived. The house number corresponded to the sequential number of other houses, but the street indicated in the address was about 500 meters south. Therefore, if you didn't know where to go, you couldn't find this house on the street specified in the address. If a stranger entered this address into a GPS navigator system, the navigator would lead them to the wrong place. Most often, the visitor ended up at the nearby cemetery. There, the visitor was seemingly coincidentally stopped by a police patrol for document verification. For emergency services or rescuers to come to the house, a special digital code was required. But usually, this wasn't necessary because these professionals knew the address, and the code was also known to them, I believe. Upon pressing the panic button, a gendarmerie patrol arrived in this area within 1 minute. Once, I witnessed an amusing incident. Some random thieves, to their misfortune, attempted to rob the neighboring villa. This happened during the day, around lunchtime. As a result, the alarm went off, and the residents of the villa pressed the panic button. Upon hearing the noise, the thieves, of course, tried to flee, but they were unsuccessful. They were apprehended by the police, yet even after their arrest, Helicopters hovered over our area, monitoring all movement. Now, back to the lawyer. Handing us the checks, Maître Schrier strongly recommended that we leave France, at least for a while. Yes, in fact, we had no other choice. Our French bank, as soon as it received our money in the account, immediately notified us that it was going to close our accounts. But just then, an opportunity arose to open an account in a bank in Monaco and transfer the money there first, and then move to Italy. Needless to say, opening an account in Monaco is very difficult, and it's also not beneficial for the French bank to close accounts full of crystal clear money. In other words, French intelligence agencies opened a corridor for us to exit with the money to conclude this challenging 7-year stage of our war with the art cartel in France. To be continued, subscribe to my channel, dear friends.